TheSeireitei, a Bleach fandom community podcast brought to you by Bonnie's Bows, self-professed four-wheel drive, self-professed cutie, and self-professed getaway car. Yes, all self-professed. My name is Lethan, and today I am joined by Shiki
Hello.
and Naomi.
Hi.
We're hitting season 2, very exciting. So there will be a few shifts in the formatting. For one, we're going to be having a lot more guests on and special hosts joining us from our lovely Discord family, because we are a community podcast and we're run by so much more than just the hosts that we have on the show. So we're really hoping to get more people involved, and that includes the people listening too. If you want to get involved, come into our Discord family and join our sweet podcast rebellion. But what we're going to discuss just now is that we have a somewhat new main host with us. Naomi, we're coming over to you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, like your favorite characters for Bleach and things.
So hey guys, I'm Naomi. My favorite characters are Shinji, Momo, and Lisa. 3 characters who, if you are watching the anime for the first time, you've probably never even met them yet. So look out for those 3, definitely.
Yes, so tell us, how did you find Bleach?
It was 2006. It was probably about 1 a.m. And I remember sitting on my top bunk, because I was a geek at 17, sitting on my top bunk at 1 a.m. in the morning, watching Appleseed. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Appleseed. And then after Appleseed had finished, Bleach came on, and I was like, "Ooh, what's this? I'm not tired yet." So then I started watching Bleach. And then that kind of kicked it all off.
Was it like one of the first episodes of Bleach, or was it a later episode?
It was a later episode. I think it was... I remember Kon being there, definitely. I think it was like Karakurai's Kon, so it was like superhero, one of the filler episodes.
Yeah.
And then it was all very mismatched, and they showed like 6 episodes in from like 1 a.m. to however time that makes. I can't do math on the fly. So I started recording it and watching it when I could, because it was 1 a.m. and I was studying for my hires and my standard grades and all of that jazz. And then I just kept watching it. But then it got very hard to watch it in order. Plus, you can't find episodes of anime back then, not as easy as you can now. So I kind of just fell off of it. Filler arcs happened. I had no idea what was happening. And I just kind of stopped watching it. But it was always in the forefront of my mind. So then we flash forward 13 years to July 2019, when I was flipping through Netflix trying to find what to watch, and the live-action Bleach movie was there. So I watched the live-action Bleach movie, and I was like, wait, I remember this. I remember everything that happened. So then cue a binge watch of the whole anime in like a space of 2-3 months.
Wow.
Finally finishing the manga. And jumping on the fandom wagon like 13 years later. So that's how I found it, basically.
I love it. That's a great story, though. I absolutely love that. And we're so happy to have you, because you obviously came in, had a big impact on our server as well, and here you are now chatting to us.
Yay, I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We're excited to have you. I must say, I'm probably speaking on behalf of every single person listening. Your voice is gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
It really is. Okay, but we have 2 fantastic episodes to talk about in today's episode of our podcast. So, Shiki, I think you're going to take it away with the episode recap for 21.
Yeah, I will. So, Ichigo and the gang narrowly escape the Dangai and the Cleaner as they make their way into the Soul Society. Now Ichigo must face his first test of worth in the Soul Society, a battle with Jidambo, to gain passage through the gates into the Seireitei, home of the Soul Reapers. But as soon as they pass their first obstacle, a new foe stands in their way.
Dun, dun, dun. And that brings us into episode 22. The pleasant captain of Squad 3, whose name is Genichimaru, cuts Jidanbo's arm and leaves the giant unable to hold up the gate. Before delivering a killing blow, however, Ichigo plays hero and steps in to stop him. A bit of flirting ensues. By flirting, I mean fighting. And they're all shoved out of the gate by the power of Gin's tiny sword. Whoever said size doesn't matter was right. Orihime heals Jidanbo's arm, Chad reunites with his bird boy, and we meet the guy who loves riding bacon and self-proclaiming his hate for Shinigami. However, he has a 9 p.m. curfew, and that's all we really get to see. So, two really interesting episodes. This is our first insight into the Seireitei, the world in which Rukia has been taken. So, what are your thoughts on these episodes?
It's better to be a grower than a shower.
How long have you waited to say that joke?
I really don't know. It's been forever.
But I just have a vision of him sitting there like, I've got this great joke for this episode, you guys. I'm so excited. I'm just going to keep it for the right moment.
Yep.
Oh, gosh. Yes, so on that note, Naomi, what were your thoughts?
The first thing that struck me is that because this is a whole new season, there wasn't a new opening to listen to.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally expected the next opening to happen.
So that was like the big thing for me. I was like, because I love the music and I was excited for the next one, but it's not in this episode. I was like, oh.
I do remember it taking a while before it shows up, doesn't it? The next new intro, but it is quite interesting because a lot of other anime, when they go into their season 2, you get a new intro, don't you?
Yeah.
Do we get a different outro?
Nope, same outro as well.
Okay. I usually stop it before it gets that far because I'm quite lazy. I'm like, right, it's time for bed. But yes, was there anything else that struck you guys? From like, what were your thoughts on? Because this is the first time we're getting to see this captain who's shown up in a previous episode, but I don't think we got his name. We knew which squad he was from, but we didn't get his name, and now we're getting to see him again. So, what were your thoughts on him?
It's the iconic wave of the goodbye as the gate's closing, and he's just like, bye bye, like bending over. It's just something that strikes you as there's just something I'm not too sure about just yet. But I'm gonna keep watching to see what you do. I don't know. It's just he's an odd one.
He is odd, isn't he? I think everything about him is designed to be different. We can't see his eyes, so instantly we're like, kind of, oh, he's strange looking. And then he's got this tiny Zanpakuto, and we've always been told up until this point that a person's spiritual pressure is reflected in the size of their Zanpakuto, which is why Ichigo's got a big one. I'm trying so hard not to make any jokes. It's really difficult. It's really difficult. But then we see this tiny Zanpakuto. God. Then we see this tiny Zanpakuto from a captain who we know is like captains are high, because we've already had an interaction with Rukia's brother Byakuya and we've seen how powerful he was. So we know a captain Soul Reaper is really powerful. So I thought that was another thing about him that was jarring. Not normal, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else about, because we've spoken about Gin, what about Jidanbo? What were your thoughts on?
Jidanbo.
He's tall.
Very
reminds me of some
astute.
people I
Very
know.
astute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found it interesting, like with Jidanbo, because he obviously is the big brute they put out in front of the gate to stop any weaklings from coming in. And due to that, it's just like he seems to be very, well, let's just say he's not the brightest of fellows, as we can tell by his not needing to count up to 10 often.
I did appreciate that joke. I thought it was quite funny.
But yeah.
Done pretty well. Yuichi said that he's been doing the job for 300 years. And
yeah, and that definitely gives you like a little glimpse into like the life cycle of a Soul Reaper, and that they're going to be there for a very long time.
Exactly, yeah. And imagine being in the same job for 300 years. Like, no ambition to move up or become a captain himself or kind of move up through the ranks. Just staying in the same. He must be content.
This is going to lead me a little bit into the manga and anime differences, which I am excited to get into, but I've only really got 4 for this episode, the first sort of episode 21. But yeah, I'm going to get into them because one of them really sticks out to me. Is that okay with you guys if I jump into the differences?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just for episode 21. So first of all, Ichigo. So Orihime says to Ichigo in the manga, Ichigo, that's a cool landing pose, and Ichigo tells her to shut up. And in the anime, instead, she says something about his artistic flair, and he just says very sarcastically, "Thank you," But I thought the shut up thing in the manga gave us a bit more insight into their relationship, because Orihime did not take offense to that at all, which would indicate to me that there's more of a relationship between those two. Because if you said shut up to a stranger, if you say shut up to a stranger, they're more likely to get affronted. But if you say shut up to your friend or somebody that you're close with, they're probably not even going to blink an eyelid at it. So I just thought that choice of wording was a bit more interesting into their relationship, and that's something that I will talk about again later. But here's really interesting. So Yoroichi, and this is backed up by Gin later, Yoroichi says that Jidanbo was chosen out of all the giants in the Seireitei, implying that there's more giants in the Seireitei. And Gin backs that up later by a very similar comment where he says something along the lines of, you sure are the Soul Society's strongest giant. The way that they're wording that, to me, implies that there are more giants in the Seireitei. How do they fit in the buildings? How the fuck do they, how does that how?
But that brings up an interesting question now, because as we learn in the next episode 22, when you arrive in the Soul Society, you arrive as you were. So basically, like when you died, that's how you'll arrive at the Soul Society, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So are they implying that Jidambo in life was a real giant?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And I wonder, is this an insight into the world, the wider world that Kubo was originally going to be planning at that point, like Burn the Witch?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I'm not going full Harry Potter here, but thinking along those lines, especially
Just
in
some
the
kind
UK,
of hidden world.
yeah, the whole witch aspect. I mean, I've not really, you can probably tell I've not read Burn the Witch yet, but I'm assuming that there is a witch element of power to them. I'm guessing they don't use swords, for one thing.
I've seen some posters and I have no clue what they're using. It looks like some kind of weird, potion bottle gun thing.
It's going to have a witchy feel, right? I definitely need to look into this. So there's probably people screaming at the podcast right now going, how have you not read Burn the Witch? It's on my to-do list. I will get it done. But yeah, so to me, it would imply that there are other mythological aspects to this. I don't know, Shiki, have you heard of anything to do with giants in Japan? Is there any tie there?
So there are the yokai, which some of the yokai do have giant aspects to them, because you have your oni, your there's so many different yokai which could easily be giants, and then you have all the other kind of animal yokai as well.
So there could be a mythological reasoning behind
Yeah,
Kubo putting giants in this.
I mean that's my best guess, is he's borrowing off the yokai fact, which if that's the case, then I would imagine that they're going to have the kappa and then all these other different anthropomorphic objects that will be in the Soul Society as well. But we don't really see that, and there are spoilers I'm trying to avoid right now regarding certain characters.
At this moment, all we've seen is a giant, so that could imply that maybe there's other things.
Yeah, so that's my best guess right now, is that he's borrowing off the yokai aspect, and that when yokai die, they also can go to the Soul Society.
Naomi, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've read Burn the Witch, but I honestly couldn't remember other than...
Is there not dragons in it? I've heard there's dragons, right?
And I think the comparison is that the dragons are the hollows.
Oh,
that's kind of like a comparison that they have there, and that's how they have to go and fight in the reverse London to protect them and conserve them. They are conservationists. That's a word. Conservationists of these dragons that they are protecting of reverse London. So that's kind of again where the mythology kind of plays with it as well. Of course.
So we're definitely getting a bigger world opening up here, aren't we?
We are, definitely.
Well, I've got just two more differences here. One little tiny thing, it's not really massively important. What Chad says internally about Ichigo gaining experience or needing to gain experience was just said a bit earlier in the battle in the manga, before the battle even started. But that was tiny. Jindanbo's name, though, it's pronounced and spelled Jindanbo in the manga, and it's Jidanbo in the anime. Is that the same in the sub? Is it Jidanbo?
Yeah, it is Jidambo as well in the sub, at least from what I heard.
Interesting. I wonder why they made that change. It's definitely Jindanbo in the manga, so if I say that, I apologize. But what Jidanbo says about the Seireitei, when he's talking about, if you really want to get in through the gate, in the anime, he says the others you'll meet are all very strong. So when you go beyond the gate, the others that you'll meet are all very strong. But in the manga, he says there's a bunch of mean guys in there, which I thought was a very interesting choice of words. Those are the only manga differences I have that stood out to me, other than like tiny little moments. But those were the bigger ones that stood out to me as I was reading through the manga. But I thought that his use of mean guys in there was almost a foreshadowing for the next episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were a few differences between the sub and the dub as well. So first off, when we have like Jidambo talking to Ichigo, he is a little bit more condescending towards Ichigo in the subbed version, where he basically calls Ichigo Kozu, which means like brat or kid.
Is that not what Rukia calls Ichigo when she's trying to walk away from him with the whole Byakuya situation?
Yeah, it's definitely a word you'll use when you're like taking a place of authority and reminding them of like a age or status difference. So I think that gives you like a little more glimpse into the mindset of a Soul Reaper when they're looking at someone that's not a Soul Reaper.
Yes, that would explain. Obviously, we know that Rukia was probably saying all that to forcefully try and keep Ichigo at arm's length, but it maybe is a common word then that she's picked up from Soul Reapers in general.
Especially if you compare it to the earlier episodes when she was trying to learn modern and how to like blend into this new kind of generation. So that word is something that may be used quite a lot in the generation of the Soul Society, because it is, from the looks of when you're looking around at the images of both the Soul Society and the Wukong, it's kind of old style period. So the language and the dialects and that they're using is a contrast to the modern language that Rukia then had to learn when she was in the world of the living.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and then we have a difference in the Japanese version when Ichigo asked if the others could guess where he was during the other 5 days of his training. In the Japanese version, Uryu seemed like uncertain, like, wait, you were doing something else with the 5 days of training? While in the English, he more so throws a joking jab at him, saying like, knowing you, probably goofing off.
I mean, he's got a point.
Yeah, so I found it interesting how the English version wanted to take a little bit more of a humorous rather than a serious response in that dialogue.
I think if we don't have enough humor, we get quite disengaged as a Western audience, don't we?
Yeah.
Like it's very. I mean, look, anime isn't. It is and it isn't serious. If you were to have like if the whole of Bleach was to be told from a serious angle with no jokes at all in it, I would have stopped watching probably after like season 1. But I think they interject the right amount of humor to keep Japanese and Western audiences engaged, and they definitely do seem to throw in a few more sarcastic responses and remarks and things, a bit like that, Orihime saying you've got artistic flair, and Ichigo going thank you, but like this very sarcastic response. Things like that do get thrown in more, potentially because of the Western audience, which I think, because I don't think sarcasm is a thing in Japan, really, is it? Not as much.
It really isn't. It exists, but it's not a thing, really. At least not to the degree that we use it in the Western societies.
I can't imagine Scotland being able to function without sarcasm.
Right?
Like, how do people communicate? Like,
You mean you have to be direct with each other?
oh no, sounds awful. Was there anything else for episode 21?
The last one is, again, another thing about the comedy in which when Jidambo is doing his 10 strike bonsai festival or whatever he called it, in Japanese was just doing his counting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 8. And then he just kind of like stopped. So it was more like a it seemed like he was in a fit of rage and just like not paying attention to what he was doing as he was getting lost in his attacks. But in English, it made it more of a comedic aspect where it showed that he maybe doesn't exactly know how to count and he's not that bright because he like says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 13, 14, 12, 8, and then just goes on that and it says like, and then he makes the comment in English saying, I haven't had to count that high in a long time. Or
Yeah, I know. I will admit I did laugh. I did laugh. I thought it was a really good moment. But yeah, again, that humor, right?
yeah, definitely. It's also like maybe that also can show Western audiences that are watching both the differences between like comedic timing in Japanese versus English speaking societies,
Yeah.
which is
So
definitely
maybe,
like something too that you can appreciate.
yeah. So I wonder then in Japan, maybe, and I've just totally taken a stab in the dark here because I don't know and I'm not Japanese, but I wonder because in Western culture, we would absolutely make fun of somebody for being quote unquote stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like in Scotland, I don't know if it's a Western thing, but in Scotland we call them thick. We would say they're being really thick. You know, and a lot of our degrading terms are both endearing and degrading and light-hearted, but also serious at the same time. They all revolve around calling somebody stupid, like the word Egypt that we have, which is a very British
I
word. But
remember
I
when we used
wonder,
to be like that in America.
but I wonder then in Japan, maybe do they potentially shy away from making fun of somebody's intellect the same
At
way that
least
we might?
from the media that I've consumed from Japan, like the comedy shows and stuff, I've never seen any comedy that actually attacks or uses disabilities or being idiots as the butt of a joke. It might exist, but as far as what I have seen, it's not as common if used at all.
Interesting. I love learning things like that. And it could be, like you says, it could be that it does exist. We've just not seen it or heard it. But
Mhm.
it definitely exists in Western culture. We can confirm
Yep.
that. You know. Cool. Was there any last or parting thoughts about episode 21?
Just the fact that I love that Chad had a spare cloak.
Was it Chad or was it Uryu?
You, yeah.
Uryu had his spare. I know. Oh, that was brilliant. That
Oh,
was such a good moment.
It reminded me of when I was watching it. All I wanted to say was just like no capes, you know, from The Incredibles.
oh, yep.
That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, okay. We gotta get that. We gotta get that as a meme. Just have like Uryu being caught by the
By the cleaner.
Udon guy, and then and then
Yeah, I
just
think
have. Yep.
if Dale is advertising this episode on the Instagram, Dale, if you're listening to this, you have to make that the
Please.
image for this episode is Chad grabbing Uri and ripping and then just no capes. So good. So good. Oh, maybe I'll make that the episode title.
Yes.
No capes. Right, cool. Anything else for episode 21? I know we've kind of bounced backwards and forwards because we started chatting a bit about Genichi Maru, but we can certainly jump into episode 22 and then bounce back if we need to. Well, I start with the manga differences then for episode 22.
Okay.
So episode 22's manga differences then. Just a little one, nothing major. Just it's tiny, like tiny. So you know that in the anime, Jidanbo gets a tiny little paper cut on his arm
Mm-hmm.
from Gin's sword.
Yeah.
In the manga, it gets cut clean off. His
I
whole arm.
thought so.
Hmm.
I thought so because when I was watching, I was like, wait, doesn't he get his arm cut off? And now I guess I must have read that manga chapter.
You definitely did, and let me tell you, there was a lot of blood. Like not even just like a little bit. That was a lot of blood. In fact, the next chapter it goes into is chapter 75, and it's called Crimson Rain because that's what happens to them all. It is brutal, absolutely brutal. But the fact that they chose to cut that, pun intended, cut that out, the anime has a knock-on effect on some of the other things that are different in the manga too, which I will get into. Another thing as well about the cutting off of the arm in the anime, Gin is turned like he's twisted, like he did draw his sword out, but in the manga he's just stood stock still, like Byakuya did when he attacked Ichigo's soul chain. So it's like these captains can move without us even looking at them, but that seemed to catch more in the manga than it did in the anime. In the manga as well, Uryu has a moment of pure awe after Ichigo defeats or deflects Gin's attack. So there's like a moment of where Uryu is just like, he's amazing, not out loud, but like in his head thinking, oh my god, he's amazing. While in the background, Ichigo is just shouting in pure annoyance, like, I could have been killed, you maniac type, shouting and hollering in the background. But Uryu is just like, oh my god, he has so much respect for Ichigo in that moment that he doesn't vocalize. But I thought, I'm going to call you out in it, Uryu, and make sure everybody knows. Make sure everybody knows. The other thing as well, this was a minor one, was that Orihime in the anime, before she starts healing, quote unquote, Jidambo's paper cut, she speaks to her fairies first, but that doesn't happen in the manga. The fairies are just sent to work straight away. Like they're just like, go do the heal. Okay, do the heal. And I think that's the anime again trying to be like, hey, these are characters type thing. Like, give them some screen time. I'm also like, let's not have them as characters because there's so many of them and we can't give them character development, and it's
We're
just
already
not
going to
good.
have enough characters to worry about anyways.
Yes, exactly. In the anime, I'm going to pronounce this kid's name wrong. Bird boy,
Shibata?
Yuichi.
Oh, you're going by first name. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Yuichi's probably. I'll just call him Bird Boy because it's way easier. Says that you stay the same when you get there and that you never change at all. That's said in the anime, but it's not said in the manga.
I'm going to want to harp on that when we get into like notes about the anime after the differences, because that brings up so many questions.
Yeah.
Yes, it very much does. Because, yeah, the spoiler territory is that.
Yeah, there was so much.
I mean, I'm going to leave spoiler stuff for later, definitely for the next spoiler episode after the end of the season, but there are other like implications that stating that brings up. Like, okay, so let's say you come to the Soul Society as a toddler. You're then in the Soul Society as a toddler for your entire time in the Soul Society, right?
According to that statement, quote unquote.
According to that statement. Yeah. Does that mean if you're in the Soul Society as a toddler for 300, 400, 500 years, you're going to be the smartest, most mature toddler in all of existence? Or is your maturity and intellect capped?
Yeah, that brings up a lot of discussional points.
It does, yeah.
It does. Naomi, you started talking as well. What do you think?
It was that whole conversation between Parakeet Boy and Chad and his quote unquote Wukong brother. There was a lot that they brought up, especially things that, without going into spoiler territory, that things are brought up in other episodes as well. But it's also, they said that it's rare for people to meet. Whereas he was just happened to be in the same district as Chad popped up.
As Chad. I thought that too. I did think that. I was like, oh, and here you two are.
Yeah, there was just that whole conversation between the three of them just could be dissected down so much, and so much lore and world building could be built upon, could be discussed within it as well.
Yeah, and that's definitely one I would like to put a pin in for the next spoiler episode that we come to do, because there's a lot that could be taken away from that. However, I do want to make it absolutely clear to everybody listening that was not said in the manga. The manga is the canon source material, and at no point does Yuichi or anybody state that you stay the same as when you get there. You never change. That is only in the anime.
Okay.
It's actually really interesting. I must have missed that. That is really interesting that it's only in the anime.
Yeah, I did. I've put it in like capital letters, underscored, not in manga, because of how important that is to a lot of things that we will find out about. The other differences where the big brother goes on to explain in the manga a little bit more about what happens to souls when they arrive. So when they arrive, they're given like a number that's the order for their death, and then they're sent either north, east, west, or south. Unless it is a collective suicide, as he says, then you wouldn't ever know the district that your relatives are sent to. And it's like the way that he talks about it, he's like, it's huge. It is massive. Like there is no hope to being able to find anybody. And then of course Chad goes on to talk about like, oh, you will see your mother again, which I guess He does say in the manga too, it said earlier in the manga, like Chad doesn't spend as much time with the kid in the manga as he does in the anime. The anime seems to drag that out a little bit longer. Like they're walking around until sunset together, just talking. But yeah.
You know, I would love a spin-off season just where we follow the life of a soul that just entered the Rukon district and
A
was
Kompaku,
trying to
yeah.
just trying to find his family or something like that. And we actually go through the process of what it's like to enter the Soul Society as a spirit, and then just your daily life there from the start to when you get used to it.
Yeah, I want to see more of the academy as well. Like I want to see what it was like for Rangiku and Gin and everybody inside the academy.
Maybe in the future.
Yes, for sure.
Or in fanfics.
I've just realised I'm probably going to have to cut that out in the edit because I'm like, nobody knows who Rangiku or anybody is yet, and nobody knows the academy either at this point.
They
So.
mentioned the academy in when Renji and Rukia were talking about it.
Yeah, they do mention the academy. Yeah, I would like to. I would love to see that. And then the soul that comes in through what Shiki's just said, we get to see them go to the academy, and then everything else that follows.
That'd be fun.
Cool, yeah.
That would be really good.
A day in the life.
Yeah, I love that day in the life of a Kompaku, dead person.
Fly on the Wall documentary.
Yeah. I love that. Maybe even give us a giant. Let's go for it. Let's see the day in the life of a giant all the way through. Cool. In the anime, I'm going to come back to the Ichigo and Orihime moment. I'm going to come back to that. Yoruichi does make a really interesting statement when they fail to get into that gate. So when they're knocked back by Gin Ichimaru, Yoruichi says in the manga that it's going to take them 10 days to walk to the next gate. So instead of it just being, I think in the anime it's more implied that the gates will be heavily guarded. In the manga, it's more, it will take us 10 days to get there and we don't really have that time. So Yoruichi, he does say that it will be guarded too, but it's the more implication is behind it's going to take us 10 fucking days to walk there. We've not got that time. Now, that brings us into another Orihime moment that I'm very annoyed was not included. So, we all know that I've had a rant about this before. I'm going to try my best not to rant about it now.
Lethan rant.
Deep breath. Okay, so because Gin only gives Jidanbo a paper cut in the anime, we don't see Orihime healing for as long, whereas in the manga, Orihime is reattaching a giant's arm to his shoulder. That process ain't going to take 5 minutes, you know? It's going to take a while. So as she's doing that, I think she's obviously been at it for a while, and the other souls Ichigo comes back out with a drink. I think it's a drink anyway. It looks like a drink in his hand that he's about to hand to her. And at the time, Orihime is both trying to concentrate and her mind wanders into daydreams that we've seen her have in the manga before, where Ichigo is a bit of a Prince Charming, and it's really cute because it is the exact fantasies that a young girl growing up absolutely has about a crush. It is without a shadow. In fact, not even a young teenage girl. Any woman ever has fantasies that just spring up into when they're doing a mundane task like cooking a dinner or ironing or putting clothes away or whatever. They have these fantasies, and I'm pretty sure boys will do too. Anyway, so Orihime's in this fantasy. She gets snapped out of it by Ichigo handing her a drink and telling her to take a rest. And Orihime's bubbly and upbeat, and she's like, no, I'm almost done. It's only going to take me 5 more hours. And then she goes on to explain that healing somebody from the Soul Society is different. And again, it's just more insight into her character, into her powers. It's so we're learning then that people in the Soul Society are made up differently. So the healing process for them is different. And that this is going to take her 5 hours to do. Holy shit. And that she was more than willing, prepared to sit there for those 5 hours healing a complete stranger just shows us so much about her character. But anyway, the townsfolk rally behind Ichigo and they're all like, no, you should take a rest. You've done so much. We're really thankful. A couple of the old men make some inappropriate comments, as you do about Orihime. They could have been left out, but whatever. But one of them states, do you think she has a boyfriend? As we see a screenshot of her, a panel of Ichigo and her walking away together, implying that those two are together. And definitely it's a seed planted. It's a big solid seed planted for the reader, I think, about a potential Orihime and Ichigo finish, which was totally missed. All of that was missed from the anime, and I'm guessing it's because G Dambo only got a fucking paper cut. Rip that man's arm off. Give us the scenes that have, like, honestly, there's so much Orihime character development that's cut out, and I'm not happy.
That would have been a really nice scene to include, although I'm not sure they would have really had time.
Well,
but it would have been quick.
If they'd cut out all the stuff that wasn't that was anime only with Parakeet Boy, then they would have made the space.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes, that, and as well the Orihime's chat with her fairies. Like, honestly, I know that took only like 1 minute worth of screen time, but there's an extra minute saved there. And then Parakeet Boy cut out 2 or 3 minutes of that. There you go. There's some more minutes, and then bam, throw it into Orihime character development, please. Thank you.
Yeah, Orihime definitely got the short end of the stick on this show.
She definitely did.
Bless her.
She's just big boobs. That's all she got. Anyway, I've had my rant. And that is the end of the manga and anime differences. So, Shiki, what about some dubs?
So, the first major difference that I saw was interesting. I'm not I mean, I guess I can understand why they made the difference a little bit, but in the English version of the anime, Ichigo calls Gin a clown, or has like a clown face. But in the Japanese version, he says Gin has a fox face. So it's just like it's a different thing. And it gives you also a little insight into Gin, because Gin is kind of like that wily character. So his personality is almost fox-like. And it just like is a little call to it.
Interesting. I will admit I did laugh at the clown thing.
Yeah, I think the clown's definitely more of a comedic thing, but fox would also have been good and give you a bit more of a character insight too.
Yes, very true.
Then we also have the difference of, in English, Ichigo calls Gin Zanpakuto a dagger, but in the Japanese version, he calls a wakizashi, which is like a sidearm sword for samurai, because you'll have your katana, then your wakizashi, and then you'll have another like really small like hunting knife kind of thing. Now that one I get, because an English-speaking audience might not know what a wakizashi is.
Yeah, that's true. That would make sense that they changed that to be a dagger. If it had been translated for Scottish audiences, it would have been a dirk.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, they could have made way worse jokes there. They could have made way worse.
And I will make a note about the Crunchyroll's choice in subbing for it, because even though they do say wakizashi in the Japanese, Crunchyroll specifically translated it as short sword. So that's like a fun little insight to how subbers choose wording.
I suppose they've got to make something that the audience watching will actually know without having to Google, right?
Yeah. I suppose though a short sword would make more sense than a dagger, because a dagger would be a little bit shorter than what Gin has.
Yeah, much, much smaller. And probably a hilt not that size either on a dagger, no way.
No.
And then let's get into a really fun difference, which is a Ganju scene. So during his self-proclamations, in English, he says he is the self-proclaimed boss man of the Rukon. However, in Japanese, he says he is the self-proclaimed time most wanted to call you big brother candidate for 14 years and running.
What does that even mean?
It's like everyone wants to call him Aniki or Oni-san kind of thing.
Okay.
So that it's just a different kind of thing, which also then plays into the other difference with his actual gang, because in English they call him boss man, but in Japanese his gang calls him Aniki, which is big brother.
Okay.
It was actually something I wanted to discuss with you.
Go for it.
Because I had put that down as something, because I'd seen that it said boss in the manga, and in the Japanese it was Aniki, which was being subbed as big brother. But is that particular Aniki related to Yakuza, or is that just a general big brother moment?
So for that, it's been a long time since I've researched into the Yakuza. I want to say it is, or at the very least, it's a trope that when you see things in like Yakuza anime, you'll see like a underling call his senpai A or Aniki, because I guess it's trying to tie in the bonds of the fact that you're a family when you're in Yakuza.
Oh yeah, right. It kind of just gives a little insight to that particular gang and how the four of them, 4 plus Ganju, operate as a whole. And then with what we see in upcoming episodes with meeting Ganju again, then it just kind of all ties that in together with how they're calling him and how they're treating him, how they're respecting him.
Yeah, most definitely. That's all I had for the differences.
What did we think of Ganju as a character? I mean, from what we've seen of him so far,
He's definitely interesting.
my first thing was he's a princess because he had a curfew and he had to be back home by 9, and I was like, he must turn into a pumpkin at 9 o'clock or something.
For me, I remember when I first watched Bleach and I got to that episode, I was like, oh no, he has an older sibling that's going to kick his ass, isn't he? Because that's what I always see in anime, so that trope came to mind first.
Guess we'll have to find out if that's true or not.
He reminded me of Ichigo a bit, to be fair.
Yeah.
With the whole very much brash, in your face, especially when you see Ichigo in the first episode when he's beating up the guys for knocking over the soul's offering memorial. Ganju had that kind of, he's just there to protect the Rukon from the big scary Shinigami, and he sees Ichigo as a Shinigami, so he's going to be there protecting him. And there was that parallel that I saw, that they are quite alike in that sense.
I wonder if that'll have anything to do with anything we learn in the future.
I
don't know. Just gonna have to sit tight and see. But yeah, they are very like that brash, kind of boyish, brutish. And then they ride boas because #YOLO, right?
Why not? Exactly.
No cars in the Rukon district. Gotta ride some bacon. I love the one that had the unicorn horn stuck on though. Very well played. Very well played.
But it raises an interesting point that you can find animals in the Soul Society.
Exactly. I reckon most of them will just get eaten.
Yeah.
Hunted and eaten, but yeah, there is animals there, you're right. And they're quite big animals by the looks of things. They're definitely not your normal sized animals. Cool. Was there any last parting thoughts then before we delve into the Dangai?
Nope.
I'm just really excited to see more of Ginichimaru. At this point, he's an interesting character. He's done some outstanding damage. We've seen Byakuya Kuchiki as a captain do some outstanding damage. I am excited to see and learn just how powerful these other captains and their second in commands are. With that in mind then, let's delve into the Dangai. So Shiki, what have we got?
So for this week, we have an announcement for Bleach Brave Souls. Suhei Hisagi gets his Bankai unit added to the game.
The internet went wild for that when that was announced.
It is, yeah. It's very exciting. It's part of the ongoing Can't Fill Your Own World tie-in they have, part of the novels.
And we got a nice visual of it as well, didn't we? There was an image with it.
Yeah. Then we also have, I couldn't find confirmation of this. So this is a reporting from Anime Corner. And it says its source is Weekly Shonen Jump. Burn the Witch movie will premiere in Japanese theaters on October 2nd.
And it just ties it all back in, doesn't it? It gives us a little bit of something while we're waiting for the final arc. It gives us that little bit of a teaser.
Yeah, hope as well that it's coming, because that's one thing that we've been chatting about in the Discord server is we want to see when the anime comes back. We don't want it to just be all source material. We almost want some additional filler. And I won't give any spoilers away for anything, but I think we're just wanting to milk this series now for everything that we can possibly get out of it. Every possible character interaction, every possible just extra line and sentence, because these characters that we have yet to meet and some of them that we have met are just so phenomenal that we're just really excited about getting more from them. So definitely, if you want to be part of that, definitely pop into the Discord server. I know we keep saying it. Definitely pop in, say hello. But was that everything then, Shiki?
Yep.
Awesome. Let's head on over to our Shinigami Cup Peroxide edition. Now, who was it that came up with a name for this? Naomi, was it you or Nova?
It was me.
It was you. Yeah, I knew it was definitely something that began with an N in the server, and I couldn't remember. But yeah, it was you that gave us this name.
Full circle.
And we've been using it. It's so great. It's so great. So yes, this is Shinigami Cup Peroxide Edition. Thank you to Naomi for the name. So let's start off with who wrote it best then. So Shiki, since you always go first, who wrote it best?
So for my who wore it the best, I have the boar with the unicorn horn.
Hey!
Yep.
I love it. Naomi, what about yours?
Along the same lines, but mine's one of Ganju's gang, who in the manga is actually called Hawk, Taichi Miyamoto, and the alarm clock he has on his back.
I didn't even notice that. That's so astute. Well done. Well spotted. I'll need to go back and have a look at that now. My who wore it best is the whole group and the Crimson Rain from Jidanbo's cut off arm, because I thought they wore that pretty well. And then we've got our best ship, Shiki.
For me, I have Jidambo and his axes. His love for them knows no bounds. May we all shed a tear for Ichigo's ruthless destruction.
Oh, shed a tear shed. Naomi?
Ishida and his cape.
I love that. That's so good. Mine is not serious, but it could be misconstrued that way, so I just want to call it out. It's not serious. I've put Ginichimaru in Ichigo because of the flirting that they did, mostly for Ichigo's stupid ass clown comment. I more ship Gin with the fantastic compliments that Ichigo gives him. I thought they were well deserved, and you should find yourself someday that treats you that way, the way that Ichigo treats Ginichimaru, because that stupid ass clown comment was phenomenal. So good. And then that brings us into our double take. So Shiki?
For me, it was the comment of "You never change when you arrive in the Soul Society." We'll get more into that in the spoiler episode for this season, but yeah.
Naomi.
Shiki stole mine.
Oh, excellent! I love it. So you're just dittoing his.
Yeah, pretty much that whole conversation between Parky Boy brother and Chad.
Good. Oh, can't wait for the spoiler episode now. And my double take was when Gin is saying bye bye in the manga, you know, when he's doing that wave, that bye bye, when the gate's closing, he says it with a heart.
Aww.
It's said with a heart, just like Urahara talks all his sentences out with a heart, but Ginichimaru, this was the first time, and it's not even like a hollow heart. Like Urahara's ones have always been hollow. His one is like Ginichimaru's one is totally filled in. Love heart. And I was just like, it just made me laugh so much because I was like, that's a massive insight into his character that we just got from the manga. So I wanted to also throw that there for a shout out. And then that brings us into our fandom shout outs. Shiki, what have you got?
So for my fandom shout out, I have Instagram user Dakota J cosplaying as Rukia.
Ooh.
You can check that out.
Oh wow.
Let's see. Oh wow, hello. That is phenomenal.
Really good.
She looks great. Wow, she does look fantastic. Naomi, what about yours?
Mine is Tumblr user Yaponsko2, who is an artist who mainly focuses on one of my favorite characters, but also has done this AU, of which they've role swapped two quite unlikely characters and switched them, which is very interesting. I won't go into details because it does contain major spoilers. But if you aren't afraid of spoilers and you do want to check them out, they are Yaponsko2, and they're an artist on Tumblr.
Excellent. We'll definitely be linking them in our sort of description and stuff so that people can find them if you're not afraid of any spoilers. Mine is, oh wait, Naomi, are you going to be popping that into the
Yes, yeah, I will do.
post chat? Yeah, I'm excited to see it. Well, I just go with mine then whilst we're waiting for Naomi's. Yeah. Okay, so mine is. This is an interesting one. So it's done by an artist on Twitter, and it is phenomenal, by the way. It's absolutely phenomenal. This is done by an artist on Twitter called, and I'm going to butcher the names here, so I'm so sorry to them if they listen. Shapuda on Twitter. We will be linking them. And it was a commission, so that was the artist, but it was a commission bought by Kotowari. So Kotowari commissioned Shapuda for this piece. And again, it's not got spoilers. It's got a character that we've not met yet. In fact, two characters I believe we've not really met yet. But it is a picture of Ukitake and Shunsui Kyoraku, I can never pronounce his last name, but Joshiro and Shunsui as characters from Hogwarts, like from the Marauders map series. So I think it's like Joshiro is like Remus, and then Shunsui is like Sirius Black. So, and it is a phenomenal piece of art. I'm going to post it into our host chat just now so that you guys can see what it looks like. But yes, my shout out goes to that piece of art because it is so good. It is so good. Right? How good is that?
Oh, that's amazing.
It's honestly, so if you, I mean, there's no spoilers in that picture. It's two characters that we've not really seen, and they're aged down because they're meant to be younger. So even if you do see them in the anime, there's no spoilers in this picture at all. I so recommend, even if you've not seen, you have no idea who these characters are, that you just go and appreciate the art that's on this image because of how good it is. I love the lighting, I love the shadows, I love what they're wearing, I love their expressions. Just everything about this is so beautifully done. So a massive shout out to them. And Naomi's just posted her thing there as well, so I can see that. I love art like that. That's beautiful. Really beautiful. I see what you mean about the spoilery sort of stuff, but really good. Yeah, if you're not afraid of spoilers, definitely go check that out. But if you're watching Bleach for the first time, just be mindful. Excellent. Is that us then? I think that's us. Well, you wonderful souls, that's the end of another episode. If you like what you heard and you want to get involved, you can find us by searching for TheSeireitei on Tumblr and Instagram and TSeireitei on Twitter. Each of these platforms will link you to our fantastically deadly Discord family, where you can chat with us about the show, read fan fiction, take part in creative challenges, and talk anything and everything Bleach. Ichigo and Rukia might reap souls, but we're hoping to reap some 5-star reviews, and that's where you come in. Make like our favourite orange-haired protector and Ichigo to iTunes to rate, review us, and make us feel like number one. To those of you listening on YouTube, don't forget to be like Chad and give us that good, solid thumbs up. We really appreciate it. On the next episode of the podcast, we'll be covering anime episodes 23, 14 days before Rukia's execution, and episode 24, Assemble the 13 Divisions. We'll see you souls then. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.